Welcome to Croissants. This is our daily show straight from the Paris Olympics in 2024. I'm going to be your host, Vanessa Lee, and these are my first Olympics. I'm incredibly excited to be here, and I feel so honored to be sitting here talking to you at home and bringing you guests who know a lot more than I do, quite frankly. Today is official practice day, but you're going to be watching this on qualifications day. I hope you enjoy because the action is all about to start very soon. So I have here with me Audrey Edicio.
Bonjour.
So happy you're here. And of course, the Simon Fairweather. Welcome to both of you.
Thank you. Great.
Thank you.
So let's get started. Let's start with you, Simon. Tell me why you are the Simon Fairweather.
That's a good question, I suppose. Why the Fairweather? So I had a history of 5 Olympics back to back, starting in 1988, all those years back, and the last one 20 years ago in Athens in 04, and a bunch of world championships in between. And I guess the highlights of that period were winning the Sydney Olympics in the individual and the 91 world championships even further back.
So we were at dinner last night, and I mean, this is the first time I've met you in person. And I've been a fan for a very long time. And I was saying that the photo of you and your win in Sydney, for me, is one of the most iconic photos in archery, period. So let's recreate that. It was so elegant and iconic. Can we go back to that moment? And I'd love to hear from you, just what you felt and what you remember from that.
It was a huge feeling of relief, I guess, a mixture of relief and elation to get the result at the end. That was at the end of a period of about 10 years that I had struggled to perform at the level that I felt that I could or should. So I won that World Championships in 91 relatively early in my career. So I'd been shooting on the national team for about 3 years at that point, 3-4 years. And wasn't expecting to win. You know, I was everybody hopes to win every event they go to, but you know, expectation and hoping are two different things. You know, so I thought that my best years would be ahead of me, and as all young shooters, I guess, do. You know, you go there thinking, I'll take what I can at this event. You know, if I can win it, great. But you know, I'm not expecting or expected to win this time. You know, I'll be better in 10 years' time or whatever. I'm getting better and better. So I think that's a great strength for all of the young shooters. You know, they're optimistic and they're unshackled by that feeling of obligation and expectation that the older shooters always get. You know, I don't think there's any escaping that. So to win in 91, I carried personally a big load to the 92 Olympics, where it was a disaster for me. It was the first year that they had matches. And it didn't go well. I found the matches really difficult to maintain my equilibrium and focus, and you know, I felt nervous for the first time. You know, it was really strange. I remember the older team members saying to me, you know, when I was shooting events before that, you know, you're so calm, you're so calm. What do you mean? And this is just what we all do, isn't it? I finally knew what they meant when I stepped up to my first match, and you know, my hands were, you know, shaking. What's going on? And I could feel my heart, and it was really distracting. And so that then started a succession of failures after that.
Okay.
I saw like it just, you know, first round losses or second round losses, you know, and back then we didn't get to go to a lot of events, you know, like it was a big deal to get to somewhere overseas. So we might have had 2 events a year or something like that. At some years we'd not even go overseas. So you know, you're training full time, same as people do now, but only getting a few opportunities to get a result. And so it was, you know, the gravitas of each event was huge. So it made it even harder. And so it took that period from 91 through 2000 to sort of reorganize all of that in my head, I guess. And then we had a national program. We had Kisik Lee as a coach, and it just changed the bias, I guess. And it was one of the events that I got it right. You know, I got everything right. Everything I did was what I was supposed to do, and I didn't put a foot wrong. So, and the result came. You know, like And I think that's probably the hardest thing about the Olympics for anyone is that it only takes one thing to go wrong to stop a perfect performance.
Yeah.
And there's a whole bunch of people at each Olympics who are gunning for the medals and they were very good. So you can't afford to have one thing go wrong because someone else won't.
Yeah.
But it's really common for people who are favourites or expecting a good result to have one thing go wrong. You know, it's like a battle of attrition, you know. And with the 6 matches, you know, it's just enough matches that eventually something goes wrong for someone and they're out. So it was a huge relief for it to happen. You know, all the stars align and all of that hoping and dreaming and work and everything going together, and for it at each step to be, you know, that box is ticked, that box is ticked, that worked, that went okay, nothing went wrong, did the right thing, thought the right thing, and still be the last guy standing, you know, at the end of it. It was at a home games, you know, all of the things that you would think would make it harder, you know, got overcome. And so the relief was just unbelievable.
So I've heard you say that word a couple times, relief. And when I watch your win, that's the sense that I got as well. When you raise your arms and you just turn around, it looks like a sense of relief.
Yeah.
Would you use any other words to describe that moment? And can you take us back?
It's funny, you know, people say, oh, I remember it like it was yesterday. Like it's 20 years ago or 24 years ago.
Yeah.
I don't remember it like it was yesterday. But I guess like a lot of, or what I think a lot of people feel at that point, you don't really know what to do or what's going to happen now, but you don't really care. Like it's done, I've got it. Yeah, and I guess a feeling of pleasure. But yeah, that relief feeling is, I guess you sort of have a feeling like I've got time to process this. I don't have to work out how I feel about it right now. I've got time to process it and it'll work out how it works out. But yeah, it was pretty surreal though. Yeah.
I get chills just talking about this with you. What an honor to be taken back to that moment. It's not too often that you get to speak with an Olympic gold medalist at the Olympics about their experience. So thank you. But I'd love to talk about these Olympics now. And Audrey, we're here in your own home country. You weren't necessarily raised in Paris, but you have been living here for a couple of years now. So tell me your involvement or relation to the city.
To the city of Paris?
Yeah.
Well, it's the capital of France, so it's really, as an athlete or not an athlete, it's important just to be here for a job, for opportunity, for cultural thing, you know, go to see movies or concert and things like that. And Paris is amazing for that. And I love living, well, I'm not living in Paris because it's like too much expensive.
Yeah.
I live in a little city called Champigny-sur-Marne. It's like you have to take the train to go there.
Okay.
But when I can, I love with my friend to go to restaurants or with place with a beautiful view of Paris, of the Tour Eiffel. I am like a big tourist. I really love seeing this beautiful place of Paris.
Well, unfortunately, of course, you were training for something bigger. You didn't plan on being here with us. I mean, we're not offended by that, but your role is a little bit different now.
Yeah. My life has clearly changed in few months. Well, I was in a French national team for 10 years now. I started as a junior, and I am in national team since 2017. When I moved in Paris to join INSEP, the National Training Center. And well, I didn't make it to the Olympic crew. I finished fifth, and but only the top 4 continue the adventure.
Yeah.
So after just 4 days, it was finished for me. After all these days of training, these months of wishing and wake up just for one goal, the Olympics in Paris. And it was in January, so it was 6-7 months ago. And at first it was really complicated, really. Like, the first Monday, I remember I was like, do I have to put my cell phone in ring mode, to in the morning, how do you say?
Oh, the alarm?
The alarm, yeah. Do I have to put an alarm or not? Because I don't have like a goal, and the first weeks was like terrible when you shoot 10 hours a day, well, between 8 and 10 hours a day for months just for one dream. Because I had big goals for Olympics, not just to go to Olympics. We wanted to win a medal in team because we have a good team in France. And it was like really shocking not to be part of this crew. But, difficult time, difficult months, but now I'm here and I'm really happy. So thank you for this invitation. I'm really happy to meet you too. And it will be an interesting new adventure for me because I will comment the Olympic Games in Eurosport. So it will be really great, and I'm really excited about this project and to live Olympics in another way, because there was two options. First one, I'm sad, I'm crying, and I go in the south of France and just don't want to hear about Olympics. But the second one is, okay, I'm not in the crew, but how can I live a different way? Not the way that I wanted, of course, but I'm really, actually I'm happy about all of that, and I truly want a French team to win medals, because I know how hard they train and how the pressure of home country is. It's also a plus to win in your own country. But sometimes there is also the family pressure, the media, because archery, it's not a sport that it's always put in the light of medias. But now for 1 year, every athlete of a French team, they are like with the journalist every week. So it's new. It's kind of new for archery. And there will be 8,000 people in some days. 8,000 for archery. So, wow, that's so amazing. It will be a great event.
Audrey, I want to say thank you so much for sharing that, because that's really not easy. And we often talk about all the archers who are successful, and we talk about those who have made it, but there are so many more who haven't.
Yeah.
And I can also relate to you. This is my first Olympics, and I didn't make it as an athlete, and I always felt like I had just failed. But I feel like I'm more in my element, and I'm so happy to be here, and I'm happy to be here with you, and unfortunately this champion. But but it really means a lot that you shared that with us. And I just have a feeling this is going to be such a memorable Olympics for you. And Eurosport is very lucky to have you.
Oh, thank you.
So let's talk about a little bit more about having the Olympics in Paris.
Yeah.
What do you feel about having this in your home country? And what is it looking like as you're going around the country?
Athletes, they are like so honored to be here, and and all French lovers. And it's also an opportunity for us to have all this emotion in the same place. And actually there is many cities. So French is the host, there is many sports in Paris, but there is also other sports in other cities. And it will be really amazing. Yeah. Pretty exciting.
So you shot here at the test event.
Yeah.
And how has the venue changed, or how has the feeling changed since then?
The test event was great. I wasn't able to shot the finals, but we had like 45 minutes just Team France to shoot there. It was one night after the individual finals, and it was.
I feel like we have an insider analysis of the actual place, which is wonderful. And I bumped into you, when you're seeing the field for the first time. You saw the qualification field as well as the finals. What were your first impressions, Simon?
I mean, Olympic venues always look pretty spectacular when they're in their full setup mode, but it's big. It's compared to all of the games that I saw, those the stands or the bleachers or whatever you want to call them, they're huge. I mean, they're not football stadium, but compared to what we're used to in archery, they are really big. So it'll be spectacular to see those stands full of people, 8,000 people.
And actually, archery, we are pretty lucky because we are in the center of Paris. There is like beautiful, the Invalides, and there is also Grand Palais, the Eiffel Tower, just next to the scene. We are so
It's very
lucky.
scenic, isn't it?
Really, really lucky.
I think the organisers probably had a really mammoth job to fit it in amongst all of that infrastructure, because it is such a big venue this time, to then have to try and squeeze it between different parts of the the infrastructure. I think it's been probably a very difficult job. They've done a pretty good job.
Yeah. And you said something that really caught my attention with all the people. It's just magnificent with how many people we're imagining there. But you said that maybe it's even an advantage to have so many people because can you just tell me a little bit more?
It's a bit like I'm quite good friends with Jay Bars, the 88 Olympic champion, and one of the things I remember him saying about public speaking was that he prefers to speak to a large group of people because the crowd becomes just this one big group rather than individuals. You don't see one person looking at you or one person saying something. It's a mass. And so the noise becomes like a white noise. And I think that's probably what's going to happen with this event, where it's so big you won't hear that one person calling something out, or it's just background noise, a lot of noise, but just one sort of sound, and perhaps easier to focus.
Okay, because I thought it could be really impressive to shoot.
Very emotive, maybe. I think it could. If you're in the right headspace, the right person, I think it could really lift the athlete to shoot their best shots, rather than fragment their concentration and break it down. I mean, you only have to lose that focus for a moment. So, I don't think it'll be a problem for them as much as perhaps a smaller group. So it's more fragmented in the type of sounds that you hear.
And qualifications happening even before the opening ceremony. It's coming around so quickly. I can't believe we're already here.
Yeah.
Does it feel like the Olympics yet?
It's tomorrow.
It's tomorrow. It's tomorrow.
It's really strange going to the venue too, that from the hotel to the venue, we haven't really gone past anything else other than just the endless sea of fences and security and so on.
Yeah.
I'm sure the athletes are, they're amongst all the other sports and so on, so they would be getting that feeling. But for the people outside the Olympic Village, at the moment, without all of the crowds, it still just feels like a very big World Cup. It doesn't feel Olympic yet because we're all the people. Not here.
True. Yeah.
So it doesn't feel like it's going to be tomorrow. Like that, nothing's sort of reared up yet as the big Olympic.
Yes, you're right. You're right.
You feel the same way, Audrey?
Because I'm not living in Paris, I can't see it, but I can imagine what you feel. And because today tomorrow it's archery, but today there is also sport that starting the competition, maybe rugby, I think, something like that. Not sure what way I'm saying.
Don't quote her on that.
I'm not sure. But after the opening ceremony, it will be really great. And also French team, they are so happy that the opening ceremony, if it's after and there is no competing day after, because they will be able to be here.
Yeah.
Because it's not often the case.
That's right. Yeah, a lot of sports that are having their first day immediately after an opening ceremony, you're not allowed to go to the opening ceremony because it goes on so late. The athletes have to be marshalled at say 2 p.m. and don't get back to the village until after midnight. It's exhausting.
Yeah.
It's just an endless exercise in standing about. It's spectacular but exhausting. So you're here to perform. You're just not allowed to do it.
Yeah. So you lose an afternoon to train. It's you are tired at the end of the day. The day after you have to wake up early. So archery, it's often the day after, but now it's not the case. So that's really great, and they're really happy to be part of the is Athens.
Yeah, I had been to the Pan Am Games, and so I went to the opening ceremony, which was incredible, and it's so memorable. But it's always a matter of, I'm here for an experience, but I'm also here to compete. So balance.
It's quite a conflict, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is conflicting. So it's really great, like you said, Audrey, that they all get to participate, and it's going to be magnificent down the Seine River. I heard Celine Dion is headlining, so a little Canadian shout out there. Very nice.
No, she will.
That's what I heard.
Ah,
Are you a fan? You see?
yeah, of course, I'm a fan.
Good, because we're gonna have a problem there. If you're...
Okay, no, huge fan, but no, it could be her.
I think. Well, don't quote us on that, but we will check. Okay. We'll check if rugby is starting, and we'll check if Celine Dion is headlining.
Because I think that the name is not known now. We don't know who will.
So
it's a secret, but it's a rumor that it will be her. It's a real big rumor.
Thank you.
I think maybe not.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm hoping whoever it is. I know whoever it is. It'll be wonderful.
Yeah, I think. Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you for keeping me honest. I appreciate that.
Just don't cry. It's not her.
Wait, didn't she have a song about crying? If it's not her, my heart will go on. We'll be okay. So let's get back to the competition, which is about to start tomorrow. And so I've been to the qualification field, and it's quite sheltered. There's a row of trees on one side. There's a row of trees on the other side. And, when it comes to wind, especially left and right, it seems like it's going to be okay. And I haven't seen a lot of large groups there.
And I
So the women's Olympic record is still quite low, 680 by Ansan in Tokyo. So is that record beatable? What are you thinking for qualification?
Yes, clearly it's quite beatable. Yeah. But I don't know if the wind will be changing. But girls, they are shooting in the morning, and in every place in the planet, the morning there is less wind. Sometimes yes, sometimes no. Okay, but usually. So yeah, we can hope that it will be higher than that.
I talked to a couple of the archers yesterday, and they thought that the ranking field was probably less of a problem with the wind. Like it's it would come in, as you said, from that sort of left back corner, and be moderately predictable. But the competition field, I felt, was a bit worse, like in the stands and just the shape of the structures could mean that the wind sort of dumps in and is harder to sort of feel what's going on. So we might see some wide shots, people trying to work out where their arrows are going, because they get that familiarization period. But it's not a lot, it's half
like
an hour or something.
30 minutes.
Yeah, really.
Maybe 2 times.
Yeah, 2 times 30 minutes. And I think you get a day session and more of like an evening session, because that's when, medal matches.
So it's really just a tiny window of what might happen weather-wise in there. So
you're right.
Yeah, it's not like you've had a few weeks of practice to really get to know it. Yeah, sure.
I was speaking to Nicholas from Virgin Islands when he was actually at familiarization, and he said the exact same thing as you, Simon, that qualifications seems quite sheltered, but the wind might be a factor because you have the grandstands on both sides, and then you also don't have that much of a shelter or a blockage for the wind. So he was wondering if there might be a funnel effect of the wind.
Yeah.
Did you get that same sense?
Yeah, I think it's probably pretty common with those big stadiums as well. You've got the high stands acting like a funnel, blowing the wind down there. Thinking back to the Athens Olympics, which was kind of the same, but the carnage that happened in the first round with a windy day, like a really windy day, and all sorts of people going out in their first round. It was quite random, it seemed. And once you got past that first round, and then the weather sort of calmed down a bit, and things got back to normal. But what a thing to as you said, training all of that time to get to this event, and then the first round, it's just a dice. A crapshoot,
I heard that it was like really left, right, with
gusty and switching and
up,
really confusing. Yeah. And of course, you don't get to practice it, so
wow,
no coming back for it really. So it'll be interesting.
Yeah, it definitely will be. And the Olympics are a little bit different in that there's no cut. I mean, once you've made it to the Olympics, you are guaranteed at least one match. So as an archer, shooting qualifications, how do you think that might be different from a World Cup or a World Championships when there's a cut at 104?
Yeah. Particularly this year and the year before, it was really sometimes hard to go in the top 64 because when you are like 200 archer and there is just 64 who are going to the match, it was like stressful just to have a bad day. So tomorrow it will be okay to have a bad day, but not too much bad day.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to go to do a match with the big one in the first round. So maybe it's less pressure, but it's also big pressure because it's Olympics.
Yeah.
But sometimes we say that Olympics is one of the easy competition to win because there is only 64 archer and just 12 team.
Yeah.
But it's not easy, just that's so different, I think. And it will be really interesting. I hope that there will be really high scores tomorrow.
I hope so too.
Yeah.
And Audrey was talking about that ranking in qualification, and Simon, going back to Sydney, you ranked 8th, but you went on to win the gold. So how important is it to rank high, and would you be able to win from first, or if you were to shoot Olympics again, would you want to rank 8th again? Because that seems quite lucky.
Yeah, we didn't end up finding out whether there was anyone who's actually won from first. Even I'm guessing in World Cups it's happened, but Olympics, like I don't think anyone in the men anyway have managed to go top on top.
I think the women, yes, but
the women, yeah,
the men,
but just not the men. So it's the kiss of death. Like I don't want to be first. Statistically,
yeah,
I don't want to be.
Ah, yes, you're right.
I heard there's also a thing with like the test event. It's kind of like an unlucky thing to win.
Yeah, don't win the test event either.
I didn't know this unlucky thing.
I have a little bit of free time, so I went back today when I was like archery nerding out, and I searched up who had won World Cups leading up to the Olympics in an Olympic year, and I think the only person was Kugon Chan, and who went on to win in Rio 2016. There might have been someone else, but it was quite rare. So I was wondering about that momentum. Yeah.
But the momentum thing of having your head in the right place and still being able to focus on the right things without carrying pressure from expectation as well. Yeah, because the scrutiny from the media and from everyone is so intense for the Olympics that it's a real, almost a physical presence of that expectation.
Yeah.
So that we don't get with World Championships or World Cups.
And it's also really, really rare to have 2 individual medals, in archery. Like in girls, they're just Kibobe who did that. But I think in men...
To win twice.
To win twice, to be able to...
So Daryl Pace, I think, is the only so far that's had... And he didn't do it back to back, but he's the only one who's had
really rare.
2 individual gold medals.
Yes. So we're talking about the 2 medals, and this is a big one, Mete. Everybody loves Mete, right?
Yeah.
But can he be the first person to do the impossible and win back-to-back?
Maybe if someone can, it's him now.
Yeah.
It's...
Why? What is it about him?
He's amazing. Like, as an archer, as an athlete, of course, but as a human being, he's so nice with his friend, his crew. It's like his family, the boys and girls. He is really nice, and yeah. It could be so great. But actually, men, they are, like women, but they are all great. For example, I'm thinking about boys, French boys. They could be in the podium. There is also Marcus, who is still in the podium. Kimuchin, of course.
Well, Messi, he really doesn't win a lot of the smaller ones. But when it matters, I mean, European champion, world champion, Olympic champion. So we hadn't seen a lot of him this year. And what do you think, Simon? Not having that momentum and then just doing the big one, is that lucky? Or is that strategic?
Well, I think it's pretty important to be able to peak for the event. And I think, if you've had a lot of success in the months coming up to it, the chance of that continuing for an extended period is not high. So, if you were, as I think he said, if you've got to choose one or the other, I choose the Olympics. So I feel like if he was spending his time thinking more about how he was going about his shooting and not really worrying about the result of those World Cups. So, from an outside perspective, we think, he's not shooting at his best. You don't know really whether what he was doing was actually really valuable training that doesn't result in the medal, but it's in terms of the steps to the Olympics, what he needed to do. I suspect that's stuff that they've talked about. I think he's probably got a very good relationship with his coach. So, and I'm sure they've talked about that. There's been things that they've said in press in the lead up to the games that sort of suggest that that's, it's all a plan, and they've considered all of these things and they haven't really left anything to chance. So I think it's a good chance for the medal, as much as anyone can be. I mean, I think the Olympics is so fickle about who's the one who ends up winning on the day. Yeah. And I always think that the person who actually wins deserves it, but there are other people who also deserve it that don't get there. So I don't think you get any, no one wins the Olympics through luck, but they also need luck to win a Olympics.
Oh, so well said.
Yeah. So.
I feel like I need to let that one simmer a little bit.
Yeah, that's the point.
Yeah, you need the luck, but it's not just because of the luck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That from an Olympic champion gives me, goosebumps, because it would be so easy for you to say, I did it. That was me. On the day I was the best person in the entire world.
Yeah.
But it's very humble of you to say that.
Well, I still can't believe I did it and that it worked. As I said, there were so many things that could have gone wrong in the period leading up to the games. And for that period leading into the games, we had a full-time program for a couple of years before Sydney, and it didn't feel long enough. Like the whole time we were stressed about the time's running out. Our sport institute had a big clock up on the arena that said how many days to go for like a couple of years. And you look at it each time you go past it and go, that's not enough days. I know where I am now, and I know what I think I need to be as a competitor, and in terms of my technique and all that kind of stuff. I feel like I need to be here to win it. I feel like I'm here. How am I going to close that gap in that many days?
Yeah.
And you could just almost taste the pressure the whole time.
But Simon, is it possible for an athlete? We all are striving for more and more. So looking up at that clock and seeing that's not enough time, will there ever be enough time?
Probably not.
Really?
Probably not. But it's hard to accept that that's a truth. Like, I think you're right. It's never good enough. And even if it is super, super good, it still doesn't mean you're going to get what you want. So otherwise, Kim Woo-jin, why didn't he win in the ones where we broke the world record?
Good example. Yeah.
It didn't happen. And he was crushing it. So how did it not happen? And it's just stuff that goes wrong. So, yeah, I think the person who ends up winning, amazing performance, but so lucky. What a lucky person for that all to work out when they needed it. And I think even more so in our sport, where it's a sport where it's a skill. It's not about who's the strongest or who's the fastest. It's about having this amazingly honed skill that is such a fragile thing. Anything that rocks the boat in terms of your confidence and your focus and mentality is enough to change what you do with your hands. Like that. This is what gives us our accuracy. It's not the equipment. I mean, obviously, you've got to have the equipment set up just right to maximize your performance. But it's nothing without what you do with your body. And your body's controlled by your emotion or undermined at least by your emotion. So to be able to hold it all together, it's a really difficult thing compared to, say, swimmers, where obviously they've got to keep their technique and not get, lose their game plan and stuff. But, the strongest and the fastest, they're going to be up at the front, aren't they?
Yeah.
And that's not a given for a skilled sport, I don't think.
Yeah.
When you think pistol shooting or, I don't know what else, diving, I guess, things like that, where you've got to do a perfect maneuver, and any deviation from perfect is picked up. And
Well, the clock's ticking,
Yeah.
right? Qualifications, when everyone's watching this, I guess we call that today. Technically tomorrow, because we're recording this a day earlier.
Okay.
Then we have individual eliminations. We have team, or we have team actually.
We have team
First, then
and
3 days
yeah.
of individual eliminations. We have it's stretched out because all the matches happen on the final stage. We have mixed team, we have women's individuals, and then we have men's individuals.
Yeah.
How are you feeling? We're getting started.
I can't think it's tomorrow.
Mm.
No, we did like J minus 100, J minus 50, one J, and it's J minus 1 now. It's tomorrow. That's really amazing. Sometimes I'm like, it's tomorrow. Okay, I'm not competing, but
You feel it.
I feel stressed for my friends. I text to Lisa and Caroline and say, how are you today? How was practice? How do you feel with all of that? And yeah, it's
I wonder how many of the 64 in each division are going to have a good sleep tonight.
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, how many hours?
Will be able to sleep. Yeah. And at what time? Maybe like
Do you remember how you slept the night before?
Actually, pretty well, I think, that night. I well, maybe not before the memory is pretty
That's okay.
easy, but I think not too bad, really. Funnily enough, I had a piece of music that I was listening to. I set up a little speaker next to the bed, not to
Okay.
listen to it loudly, but just as something that was familiar, and also something that masks the sound of the village. Because one of the things that we also, in terms of there being so many things that can go wrong, even things like getting a bad night's sleep because of other people who are around you at the village. It's not like you've got a nice quiet motel room somewhere or at your own house if you're lucky, at a local competition. You've got a village around you that's full of 15, 20,000 other people that may or may not be quiet.
True.
yeah, and really exciting.
Yeah, lots of
Noisy.
weird noises. Or
Do you remember that piece of music that you were listening
well,
to?
there's an album by it's not music that I would normally have listened to, but it was an artist, an Indigenous artist in Australia called Jimmy Little, and he was an older guy who was singing covers of Australian music. And it was really mellow, and there was no real upbeat music in it. It was sort of everything was slowed down a bit, and it was almost like a lullaby, I guess. So it helped just to be peaceful and
Calm down.
Yeah,
Like that.
yeah.
Okay, so you sleep while you're listening to them.
well, it just automatically stopped at the end of the album. So sometime during the album playing, I fell asleep, and
I know that Lisa, for example, she loves to, when she can't sleep, she, it's like sophrology thing. You think about all your body, and you think about your eyes, and they are like really heavy.
progressive muscle relaxation.
Yeah, yeah. And she told me for her first Olympics was in Tokyo, and she told me I did it 3 times.
Yeah, didn't work.
And
first
I
time.
I was like, okay,
Yeah.
no, so this one, okay.
They're not
I believe it. Yeah,
They're not listening.
I think I've had that happen too. Yeah, I've had to do it a couple of times to get it to work. Yeah.
So these are the first arrows that archers are going to be shooting at the Olympics. What do you think that feels like? Stepping onto that line, beep, you raise a bow, draw back like you've done thousands and thousands of times before, but do you think this one will feel any different?
Yeah, clearly. And it will be so fast because it's just A-B line. There is 32 target, I guess, and there will be just Y target, and it will be like in less than 2 hours finished. Really, really, really fast. Yeah.
But long enough also for people to, if it's not working out the way they want, if they're halfway through the round and they're aware that they're not shooting the level that they would like to be, but either in the qualifying or the matches, you've got that strange situation where it's not going well, but you've still got arrows to shoot, and you've either got to put it back on track or even realizing that it's too late. Like I still have 30 arrows to shoot, say, and it's already over because I've had a mistake, or I've been off my game because I'm stressing or I feel bad or whatever. You know, like
Yeah.
that weird thing of processing all of that kind of balancing of dreams, expectations, reality,
True.
you know, successful failure all at once. It's quite a confronting thing, I think.
For example,
Oh, go ahead.
For example, I can't imagine tomorrow if it will be really noisy, if there will be people will talk to each other,
Yeah.
or second option, really quiet, you know. There will be music, or I don't know. For example, in World Cup, there is music while we are shooting the qualification, but I don't know if tomorrow there will be music. But if there is no music,
Yeah.
it could be really interesting. You will feel this tense.
Well, particularly if the people who have grown up in there or shot in the period where there has been music, and now if there's
Yep.
none, suddenly it'd be surreal and intense.
Yeah.
And
Silence will be deafening.
yeah.
Yeah. Yes.
Well, like you said, it might go by really quickly, just as this conversation has gone by so quickly. I've just loved having you both here. So thank you so much, Audrey and Simon, for joining me.
Here.
You're definitely going to be back, and we're going to have more guests joining us. So back at home, thank you so much for watching. We unfortunately don't have the rights to broadcast everything live from the Olympics, but do tune in to your local TV stations and catch all the archery action. And we'll see you tomorrow.